patents are part of Zinzino's success, but it's ultimately the system, the formula, where we test, we take the balance oil based on weight, and we test again. And we've been able to demonstrate with 1.5 million tests that most people, even that are taking omega-3s, are failing the test. So that information, that data is really what's important. And people also ask about the patents behind the formula. There's a patent for the combination of the polyphenols and the omega-3s. The formula, the vegan formula, has a patent on its very unique formula, the combination of algae-derived EPA and DHA with ahi flour, one of the great breakout omega-3 products of the last 10 years. Ahi flour has high levels of SDA, stearidonic acid, combined with the olive, high polyphenolic rich olive oil from pre-harvest olives. And there are a patent around that too. Zinzino, and it's a public information, acquired 49% of a Cypriot olive oil vintage operation that is just extraordinary, that has its own technology to produce olive oil with 30 times the polyphenols and have it labeled on the bottle for olive oil aficionados at 0.4% free fatty acids, a very, very low, almost non-existent acidity level. I mean, this is the most powerful, proven high polyphenolic rich olive oil on the market today. We call it revolutionary extra virgin olive oil. So if you've seen the olive oil from Dr. Gundry or from Brian Johnson, those are being sold widely on the internet to have 30 times the amount of polyphenols, and it doesn't say so on the label. Ours does, and there's a patent around the extraction technology there. When it comes to the blood spot test, there's technology around the antioxidants that are in the little blotter where you put the blood. There are many different laboratories that have been trying to compete and try to perfect that, to preserve the sample in its highest possible integrity until it gets back to the award-winning Vitas Analytical services that have many, many patents. They are one of the leading QA/QC analytical testing laboratories in the world, and they've worked with Cambridge and Oxford and big companies like Bristol Myers Squibb and the Max Planck Institute. So they have incredible IP themselves, the technology, and that's independent and that's on purpose. And so there's also then patented technology for the manufacturing processes.
We're not giving them any of our personal info, so we don't have to worry about anybody manipulating the data, I think. Can we say that?
I'm so glad we're doing the deep dive here. That's part of why I joined Zinzino. And I went there myself, and I interviewed Professor Thomas Gundersen, the CEO, the Chief Science Officer, Chief Executive Officer. I sat there right in the front row with him, and I leaned right into his eyes, and I asked him questions. I said, why Zinzino? You work with some of the biggest institutions in the world. There were people that we know that were there. They'll tell you. He looked me right in the face, John, and he said, because Zinzino effects change. He said, they test people. They're helping people. And then he gave us this entire presentation on how they do the omega-3 blood spot test, how precise and independent and anonymous their testing is on purpose. To your point, it has to be anonymous so the data is perfectly clean. Because the data that we have is worth more money than anything at Zinzino right now. What we have found is that 99% of people around the world fail with this anonymous test, whether you're in Japan, or in Turkey, or in India, or in Canada, and after 120 days get back in balance with the before and after test. That data is so valuable to all of humanity. That is a rate limiting factor and why I was there. It's totally anonymous. If you lose your ticket, your little card with the number on there, you don't get your test results back. If you pass the test, which 1% of people do, Zinzino will gladly refund you your investment for the test and allow you to keep the oil. They are so committed to getting this data because it's being mined right now and being mined with artificial intelligence. And I understand that there'll be publications forthcoming from all that data, but it's more powerful than anything I've ever seen in the omega-3 world. John, that's my area of expertise. When someone says, what's the proof with Zinzino? 1.5 million tests of people that were taking fish oil or eating fish that failed, that got on balance oil, which is dosed based on weight. We don't talk enough about that. Here's my shot glass. I'm 160 pounds. I take 15 milliliters. If you're 300 pounds, you take 30 milliliters. Zinzino figured that out. John, missing that is a rookie mistake. I have been excoriated is the word I'm stumbling for at medical conferences. I remember a doctor once said to me, "Hey, you Nordic Naturals guy, it says take 2. Well, I'm 6'8" and I'm full of muscle, and you're short and you're skinny and you're bald. Either I'm overdosing or you're underdosing. I'm underdosing and you're overdosing. What is going on here?" And Zinzino finally cracked that code because dietary recommendations are woefully inadequate. I'll say it again. Dietary recommendations are woefully inadequate. How much vitamin D do you need? For example, enough to get the right amount in you. How much omega-3 do you need? The right amount to get the right amount in you based on a test. So that is why I'm so excited about this, because it's independent data that proves that the formula works. And when people get back into balance, we ease their suffering. Why? Because it's a proxy for systemic inflammation. It's the most important number for health and longevity that you don't know, that you should know, that you will know. So Zinzino's collecting that data with this independent laboratory, to your point, in a way that's so clean and so pristine, you don't have to worry about them having your identity or your anything about you at all. That way, when we share this with the world, and that's what we're doing right now, we'll make the greatest possible impact, because what we've learned is everybody's blood around the entire world is red. Everybody. And that cell membrane around every single person on earth is exactly the same. That's what gets me up every morning. Something that we can do to turn the dial on public health and save the world and save people and save their suffering with a simple, easy solution that you can quantify that's the same for every breathing, living human on this planet. That's why I wake up every day, John. So yes, I'm glad that you brought up, yes, it's an independent laboratory. This is the most noble thing you can ever do, I've ever done, any of us will ever do if you're interested in health and nutrition. But when you put all of that together, that's what makes Zinzino so special. It's not just the patent, it's the vision, it's the execution, it's the system. The balance concept is the most disruptive thing in nutrition today. People want to know if their supplements work. People want to stop wasting money on dietary supplements. They want evidence that they're back in balance. And when we get them back in balance with the health protocol premium, for example, which is really considered the antidote to the ultra-processed diet. When we get them one for their cells, one for their gut, one for their immune system for energy, and one for the brain, get a before and after test and get people back into balance, that's the secret of Zinzino. Zinzino means the small piece with great value. And that's what Zinzino is. It's infinitely more than all of its small parts.